Hi there, and welcome to the Iris Plus demo. Before we dive into Iris Plus, let's take a moment to talk about the history. In 2008, impact investing pioneers identified a critical industry barrier: a lack of transparency, consistency, and credibility into how funds define, track, and report the social and environmental performance of their portfolios. To address this barrier, they created the IRIS Catalog of Metrics, which was a list of common metrics to enable comparison and communication across the range of organizations that prioritize social or environmental impact. Home to the IRIS Catalog of Metrics since 2009, the GIN has long led industry efforts to establish crucial infrastructure for impact measurement and management. Almost 10 years later, the GIN has worked with over 1,600 leading impact investing practitioners from around the world to create IRIS Plus, which is a set of tools and guidance to help investors and other stakeholders translate their impact intentions into measurable results. IRIS Plus's features and supporting elements were informed in part by key pain points impact measurement and management, or IMM, practitioners had highlighted in GIN research reports, including continued fragmentation, a lack of implementation guidance, a lack of core metrics, and a general desire to compare performance. Nowadays, investors use Iris Plus at all stages of the investment cycle to measure, manage, and optimize their impact, to explore available evidence that sits in published insights, and to align with industry best practices. Iris Plus is made of many different tools, including our expanded catalog of metrics, the frameworks, the analytics, use cases, IMM in practice, and much more. Let's dive into each of those now. First is the catalog of metrics. The catalog now stands at over 730 individual metrics to help evaluate impact or progress towards impact, and is available here on the site, as well as in a downloadable form, which you can find by clicking here. The IRIS catalog of metrics aligns with over 50 standards and frameworks, including the UN SDGs, in an effort to help standardize reporting across the industry. Metrics are meant to be used at any point in the investment cycle by any type of investor across any asset class. You can search for a metric by name or keyword by using this search bar. And you can also find metrics by filtering on the left here. You'll notice our first filter is called Impact Category, which is part of the GIN's IRIS Plus thematic taxonomy. The thematic taxonomy helps structure investor intentions for impact into comparable areas. Here, you'll see our list of categories. So, for example, let's say I'm an investor that's interested in investing in agriculture. I can then filter my results to see relevant metrics. Let's jump into one of those metrics. Here we have average agricultural yield. On a metric page, you can see a metric ID, a definition of the metric, along with usage guidance, related thematic taxonomy, so impact categories and themes, related UN SDGs and goals and targets, along with the metric history. As you can see, the catalog of metrics is a great tool for finding and learning about impact metrics, but can be a bit time-consuming to comb through when trying to build an impact strategy. That's why the GIN created the IRIS Plus frameworks. The framework builder allows investors to simplify their impact approach, select impact strategies, and surface the right metrics to track. This is the piece of IRIS Plus that is designed to take the homework out of IMM, which it does by providing an easy-to-use tool that gives a contextual overview to your framework, surfaces a custom set of impact metrics, and provides supporting educational resources and guidance for best practice. We use our thematic taxonomy to structure frameworks around impact themes. These themes are co-created with a non-investing expert partner in each specific sector and advised along the way with a working group of 1 to 200 expert stakeholders ranging from academics, nonprofits, and investors. This allows us to ensure that each proposed piece of our thematic content, especially our metrics, is relevant and additive for investors working in that specific space. Let's go ahead and build a framework. You can start by giving your framework a name and a quick description. Now, let's say you're an investor that's working in climate across all or part of your portfolio. You have the option to build your framework starting with a UN SDG or an impact category. For climate, we'd probably be interested in SDGs 6, 7, and 13. If instead you'd prefer to learn through impact categories, we would then probably go ahead and click on climate, which is our impact category. And in this case, let's say we're interested in climate change mitigation. That's our theme. At this stage, you also have the opportunity to add our first cross-cutting impact lens, racial equity. This gives you the opportunity to integrate the content originally developed under our racial equity theme into the content of any theme you've chosen above. Let's say, for example, instead, you were looking to invest in not only climate, but also health and financial inclusion. By adding a racial equity lens to your framework, you would look to see how racial equity underscores each of those investment categories and how you can measure metrics under that lens. For the simplicity of today's demo, we will not include it, but you can find more resources on lenses on Iris Plus and demos coming in the future. Next is our strategic goals. Here you'll see a couple of different examples of how investors most commonly aim to create impact within their space. To select one here, let's say we're choosing to do mitigating climate change through clean mobility. You can click as many as you want, but again, for the purpose of today's demo, we'll start with one. Now you can go ahead and save and view your results. And here's your framework. The framework starts with a summary, which shows what UN SDGs are most directly aligned with your strategic goal and gives a quick rundown on how investments in line with this particular goal can create impact. Next is the overview. The overview section is a full-form version of that top-line text-based summary. The overview is organized by the 5 dimensions of impact and includes its core questions underneath the what, the who, the how much, contribution, and impact risk. Underneath that, you'll see an example of investors currently working in this specific space. In general, investors find the overview to be an incredibly helpful way to get a contextual understanding of their impact framework, to understand what key questions to be asking throughout the investment process, and to read about real-world examples. Next is our evidence map. Here you can find peer-reviewed and academic literature with different outcomes that investors can drive through investments in this particular space. For example, let's say we're driving towards the outcome of improved air quality. Now you will see a list of academic and field research that is each assigned a rating of rigor. Next is the core metric set, which we often refer to as the star of the show. As you may know, there are a lot of metrics and a lot of frameworks out there in the world of IMM. Iris Plus does a lot of the work to bring them all together and make them speak to each other in such a way that we can then offer investors a starter kit of metrics, known as the core metric set. Similar to the overview, the core metric set is divided into the 5 dimensions of impact. Under each dimension, you can see which data points are needed to measure towards goals and outcomes and their Iris Plus alignment. For example, under the what, you can see the objective of intervention, along with an outcome indicator and the Iris data needed. You can click into individual metrics to learn more, and click View Metric Details to go to that specific metric page. On the right-hand side, you'll see formulas and calculation guidance to ensure you are measuring up towards your outcomes. Following the 5 dimensions of impact, we have the How is Change Happening section, along with an additional metrics section, which contain indicators that sit outside of the 5 dimensions, but which can be added to your custom core metric set as is relevant to you and your investment practice. Most importantly, core metric sets are shareable. You can download the core metric set for your framework into Excel by clicking Download on the top right, and you can also create a shared public link that will take anyone you send it to directly to the framework you created, whether or not they have an Iris account. You can do that by clicking Share and then clicking Create a public link to this framework. Lastly is our resources. Each strategic goal also has some how-to guidance and additional resources curated by sector experts that can be useful to investors who are aiming to measure and manage their impact in that particular space. We also have general IMM and IRIS guidance you can find on the top right here by clicking Guidance. And of course, we're always looking for IRIS Plus feedback, which you can give by clicking Feedback. And that's the IRIS Plus framework. Now let's take a look at our impact performance benchmarks. Benchmarks are decision useful analytic tools that aggregate impact performance across investments within a sector, highlighting key performance indicators and allowing you to compare your results to peers and to the UN SDGs. Available to all impact investors with an IRIS Plus account, benchmarks are developed alongside a benchmark design team made up of sophisticated impact investors, ensuring that investor need is at the forefront of the tool. As of now, we have an agriculture benchmark, an energy benchmark, and a financial inclusion benchmark. As an investor, you have the opportunity to submit your data to our benchmarks. When you submit data, you'll be provided with your own set of tailored analytics, which directly compare your impact performance to others represented in the benchmark. For each KPI that you submit data for, you'll see whether you are underperforming, in line with, or outperforming your peers. Let's jump into our energy benchmark. The benchmarks are divided into three components: the benchmark overview, performance summary, and key performance indicators, or KPIs. The overview provides key information on investors and investments represented in each benchmark. The sample overview provides contextual information on the geographic location of investors and investments, target financial returns, asset class, and sector-specific characteristics. The performance summary section features a set of KPIs based on IRIS Plus metrics and standardized industry frameworks, highlighting critical areas of comparable impact performance within a sector. The portfolio overview portion of this section provides investors with a high-level summary of average impact performance and performance on each investment relative to their peers on each KPI. In the key performance indicator section, each KPI has its own section that offers additional details on impact performance, including qualitative features, demographic impact, market segmentation, sector segmentation, investor contribution, and performance over time. In this section, performance over time, the company level, investment level, and year-on-year change filters allow investors to visualize their impact performance across three investment angles, providing for a fuller picture of impact performance. On each of these tabs, investors can view their own results and how they compare to their peers and to the UN SDGs. Supporting information is available on the relevant IRIS Plus metrics represented in each KPI under this section on the right here, as well as in data quality, definitions, caveats, and limitations. Additionally, you can filter all parts of your benchmark. Let's say you're an impact investor focused on investing through private equity. You would then use the Manage filter to click Asset Class and then click Private Equity to make more meaningful impact comparisons. You can use insights from the benchmark tools across the entire investment process. For example, in portfolio construction, you can use the benchmarks to inform your impact strategy in a given sector. During target setting, you can use the benchmarks to determine relevant impact targets to set for your impact investments. In investment selection, you can identify strong potential impact investments based on impact results for similar types of investments. In investment management, you can use the benchmarks to identify investments that are underperforming and outperforming. And lastly, during reporting, you can use the benchmarks to communicate your impact results in a contextualized way. And those are the benchmarks. For additional resources to use alongside IRIS Plus, you can navigate to our education section to learn about IMM and IRIS Plus in practice. You can also navigate to our data section to learn about impact reports that use IRIS Plus metrics. For any additional questions or concerns, you can reach out to us at iris@thegin.org or by clicking Contact Us at the bottom of IRIS Plus. Thank you so much for joining this IRIS Plus demo.